what I asked of all of you guys to bring to this call. So, one, you learned a good swap for your snack, which, thanks for showing up on Saturday's call. That was a good learn. Those of you guys that did not show up to Coach Jen's call on Saturday, go watch the recording. It was a very good call. It's in your resources, Macro University, and I think she posted it as well. But I want to tie back what you just said, Tanya. You're like, last week was a bad week, but it was a good week. But let's reframe this because honestly, it was a good week because your standards weren't controlled by your conditions
Circumstances. Oh, okay.
or
Yeah.
circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
You rose like we've been talking about, you rose to your standards versus shrinking to your excuses. And, you know, your gym schedule got screwed up, but you still got the workouts in. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You weren't on with your steps every day, but as a whole, you hit your daily average for the week, did you not? Because you made it up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, you didn't, guys. You
And
might
I
be.
but I learned too. I learned that day because it literally I was just chasing. I was with my kids all day and I we got home at past midnight that day. And so that was when all that day I was like, "Oh, I'll just get on my treadmill when I get home. That'll be fine. I'll get my steps in." But then we got home past midnight. So no, I didn't get my steps in. So I learned too if I am not chasing my children in a marathon, I'm not going to reach my step goal without chasing after it. And I got to hit that goal in the morning, not wait. So,
Oh, yeah, front load. So ultimately, I think, girlfriend, it was a win of a week. And why do you think that is like
because
ultimate?
my mind's changing, I'm learning new tools and my mind's just being transformed.
It's how you show up for
I'm
yourself.
showing up for myself and it feels damn good. And I'm like starting to get all these years. Most people know I have 8 children, I have 6 grandchildren. I have put everyone before me my entire life by choice. I realize that now by choice.
Mm.
And now I get a little angry when people aren't respecting my space because I'm like, listen, I'm gonna, you have to talk, my 17-year-old, you have to talk to me if you want me driving you places or you want this or you want that. I need to know in advance because I have a routine that's not going to be interrupted.
Wow,
So they're learning. We're
that's
all learning.
good. Right. I love this share. I talk one more question about that. So, what does it feel like to prioritize yourself? And how do I want to ask this? Your family, like, I'm sure that was a little bit scary at first, right? You prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
What are they going to say and do? So, like, how does it feel? And as a whole, like, how do they respond to that?
Oh my gosh. They've blown me away. It's been a wonderful shift. It hasn't by me making the choice of putting all my needs last, always. Um, I don't know, that was my choice. And when I'm choosing to prioritize myself, my health, my goals, my fitness, they are too. They're all 100% on board with it and they're so supportive. So I've had days that one day a couple weeks ago, I was like, guys, I'm not going to make my step goal today. And I mean, where we live, where everyone lives, it's been raining a lot. So it's like, I hate the rain. I hate walking in the rain. And my 17-year-old said, Mom, what if we just go outside and take a little walk? And, it's like 9 o'clock at night. And I was like, yeah, if we went outside and took a walk, I'd reach my goal. And then my 10-year-old said, "Come on, Mom, it'll be fun. I'll get my umbrella and we're gonna go on a walk with you." And we literally in our pajamas went outside and walked up and down, throughout the neighborhood. And it was pouring down rain and my kids were jumping in puddles and they're supportive and it feels good. It feels really good that the whole family is just like, so it wasn't necessary that I put myself last all the time. It wasn't necessary.
Yes, okay.
So,
Wow. What a great share. What a great learning for you. Those of you guys that are either
mhm,
watching the recording or if you're here and you're new, you know, Tanya's, I think, maybe a couple months in.
yeah.
And it's scary in the beginning to put yourself first when you're used to prioritizing, as she said, everybody else. But I think what's important for you guys to hear here is that when you change one aspect of your life, everything else changes. When you create space to prioritize yourself and put yourself first, it's not just your health and fitness that's going to take a shift. Everything else in your life takes a shift. Like it's like, because here's the deal, guys. How you show up in one area of your life is how you show up in all areas of your life. And you make that shift and you start showing up differently, and it's contagious when you start to show up like that because your family, your friends, your people, they start to feel that and they want to rise to that energy too. So I love that for you. Thanks for sharing, Tanya. I love that. Who else has got a win that they want to share with me? I love these.
I have one. I'm driving, so no video, but I can talk.
All right. Be safe, Sandy.
Um, so for years, and we're talking probably a decade, we have this ropes course up in New Hampshire that we've tried to do. And I was overweight, heavy, and I just wanted to sit on the bench and watch. My husband wouldn't let me. So I got all stressed out about how I'm going to keep the kids back and this and that. Anyway, lightning saved me. We had to evacuate. I didn't have to go through the whole stress, but it's been a fear. Like I can't do ropes course. I can't do zip lines. I can't do it. We attempted it a second time. Rain came. We had to be evacuated again. I'm like, see, it's an omen. I just wasn't meant to do it. Well, I went to my best friend's house. We've been friends since we were 14. We're 56 now. And neither one of us had done it. We both had fears around it. So we've both been going to the gym and working out. We felt like girl power. We're like, damn it, we're gonna do it. And we did. We went to this ropes course near her house in Connecticut and we took our time. There was no pressure, nobody behind us. We had laughs, we had giggles, we had high fives, we conquered height fears, we conquered the whole, it was just amazing. We were both, and we were so excited to tell everybody, but of course, nobody knows exactly how we were feeling inside and what a huge thing that was for us. So they were all like, oh, yeah, I remember doing that. That's great, mom, or good job, auntie, you know. But we were both like, fuck yeah. I mean,
I
we were smiling all day. We spent like 5 hours there doing a bunch of courses and stuff. And we finally said, you know,
wow.
let's go out on a win. So yeah, it was amazing. So that was my win for the week.
Oh, I love that, Sandy. And those aren't easy, those courses. They're not easy at all. So I love that. Did you zip line too?
Yeah, there was you had to go through like a ropes course to get to the
Okay.
zip line. So that was
Okay.
like your reward. So at one point, I was just kind of going, um, and she's looking and she's like, you okay? I'm like, and she's like, it's the height. I'm like, and she's like, okay, let's go down the zip line. I mean, we were taller than the trees. I was just like, when I took it all in, I couldn't say anything other than, and she's like, okay, we got this. We got this. Let's go. Okay. We'll go a little lower on the zip line. And I'm like, okay, okay. And of course, I was the one who got stuck on one of the zip lines. So I'm like, oh my God, we have a video of it. You can just hear me go, ah, like a little girl. So I had to be rescued by one of the staff members. But I mean, even that, now we're laughing about it. She's like, I'm so glad I have that on video. She's like, during the ropes course was the time, but afterwards we were in tears. It was so funny. So it
Oh
was
my
good.
God. I love that for you. That is awesome, Sandy. What a huge win. Physically, mentally, all of it. I love that for you. How fun. You're braver than me too. I don't know if I can zip line.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, I need to do it again soon so I don't like convince myself it was a one-time deal.
I love that. Yeah, get right back on the horse. That's what my dad used to say. Get back on the horse,
Exactly.
kiddo. Right away. Oh, congratulations. That's a fun win. All right, who else has got a win? I'm gonna take one more, and then actually, this whole class is gonna be like class. This whole thing is
I've
gonna
got
be
one.
let's hear Renee.
I'm just getting ready to head out to the funeral, and my dress clothes are too small or too big. I gotta go shopping.
Oh no.
It's like a month ago they were fine, but so yeah, I get to go
Good.
shopping.
Well, that's fun. That's a good win. Sorry about a funeral though. Hmm.
Yeah, that's when you're a church leader, all done to help out.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a okay. Well, still not a great thing. But well, the win is you get to get new clothes. So that's fun. It's always fun when we get to go shopping,
All right,
especially for
girl.
smaller clothes. That's a huge win. All right, guys. I love this. So who was on or listened to the nutrition call on like Saturday it was Saturday morning. Was anybody on that call or listened to the replay? Raise your hand. Nobody. Oh, Deb was. Hi, Deb. Deb's like, I'm here. And Tanya, okay, and Brenda, great. So tell me one thing that Brenda, you like ran the call. Brenda's like a pro. I was like, wow, look at her. What's one thing that you learned from that call? Something that you not only learned, but you implemented right after. Can somebody tell me? I'm off of mute. What's the one thing that you learned and then immediately implemented? Hi, Tanya.
Well, I learned the swap, how to swap the macros. That was pretty, for the life of me, I don't know why. I always thought there is nothing you can swap with 6 egg whites, nothing. And even since then, I've been thinking of other things like, yeah, there's swaps for egg whites. So yeah,
What did you
but
do?
isn't Brenda the one that showed up with the cards?
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be sharing with us because that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that idea.
That's an awesome idea. It's such an awesome idea. I'm actually putting it into Brenda's a step ahead of me. I'm actually putting it into play.
I love that.
Um, so tell me, what did you wind up swapping it for?
For 3.75 ounces of chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
and then that makes the egg whites more manageable, I think, when I don't have to eat the egg whites, right? Like, I don't know, before I think I have such a like food aversions, but
Mhm.
anyhow, so I can swap it with chicken breast.
Awesome. I love that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
learned and I'm glad you implemented. Debbie, I see you trying to come off of mute. What'd you learn?
Yeah, I did a swap, and I just might not have done that without listening to the program, re-listening to it. But I have 5 ounces of blueberries for a bedtime snack. And we have this watermelon, but I was like, I don't know if I can include watermelon. I don't know. And I looked at the swap, and I could actually eat 10 ounces of watermelon for about the same carbs and the same. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll take my 10 ounces of watermelon over my 5 ounces of blueberries. And it was a nice swap, that I could actually even eat more just because of the density difference. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, a
So,
little bit more water in it. Well,
yeah, basically.
absolutely. Yeah, that's what makes
Yeah.
them a little melons a little bit awesome. Yeah, you guys are figuring out that you can move some things around. And Brenda,
Yeah.
what'd you learn? You were busy teaching. So what'd you learn?
On the USDA thing, on the
Mm-hmm.
search, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. I thought that was a good tip to look for that because like when Jen was showing, there's just tons of stuff out there. I mean, yeah, it's always best to try to use if it's coming out of a package to, scan it or use the stuff right on the package, but when you don't have that, that was a good tip because there's just so much out there that people put out there.
Yep. So what Brenda's talking about is we shared with you guys. So sometimes like when you're trying to match on your nutrition guide, so what you got to remember is the nutrition guides that you get, those are real, those numbers are pretty accurate because it's coming from a data source that's pulling from USDA nutrition. So a lot of times when you get out there and you're, even if it's got a green verified check, sometimes even if you scan it, you're like, wait, what? Like this isn't matching what's on, the nutrition guide. So say the 3 ounces of chicken that the calories off, it's got more carbs. Like you're like, ah. A lot of times if you put chicken USDA or whatever it is USDA after it, it'll pull up a little bit more accurate reading in MyFitnessPal that has a little closer match to what's on your nutrition guide as far as the macros go. So yeah, that is very, very helpful. Even if it's, you might even find a green verified one that has USDA on it. Because trust me, there's ones out there that all match. Good. I love it. So if you guys didn't watch this, I did upload it. Jen put the recordings in Eat to Slay, and I uploaded the trainings into Macro University under, I think I didn't put it under the video library because most of the video library I put it under video resources. So if you scroll down, it's there as a training, so you guys can listen to it. It says part 1 and part 2. But that's because her Zoom kind of fell off for a minute. She had to start it again. So it's not that it's 2-part series, it's just 2 parts because she had to record it again. So you guys can go watch it. We're going to be doing more of these as well as we will be upgrading Macro University to start to even teach some of you guys as you get moved through the program to do more changes, to feel more comfortable, to be able to make these swaps, but be making them with more, I want to say like with more confidence, and utilizing foods that are actually good for you. It's like good lean sources of protein, and understanding the difference between swaps, because not every swap is a good swap. And just because it's a food that is good for you, like some people are like, well, can I swap salmon for cod? Can you swap salmon for cod equally, ounce for ounce?
No.
No. Why not? I see Wendy shaking her head no too.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
think
fat. Salmon's the fat.
yeah. And it's a
Right.
little bit more dense too, isn't it?
Well, it's a little bit more fat. I don't know
It's
what
fat.
you mean
Fat.
by
It's the fat.
that. It's
Yeah.
fat. Yeah. So salmon has a lot more fat in it. So if you were to do a swap with salmon for cod and you match the protein and you got the salmon to match the same amount of protein that the cod has, you're going to notice the reverse of the watermelon. You're going to notice that for the amount of protein, that once you get the 2 proteins to match, let's say 20 grams of protein to 20 grams of protein of cod, the salmon's going to have way more calories than 20 ounces of cod has. And it's because of the fat. Because you guys got to remember, fat has 9 calories per gram. So when you start getting a fattier food, and that doesn't mean the fat of salmon is bad for you. It's actually very essential fatty acids, but you can't do a swap for a swap. Actually, salmon would swap out better with like lean beef, to be honest with you, because lean beef even has a little bit more fat in it. Those tend to be a better swap. But you have to watch those things. So somebody the other day was messaging me and said, can I swap ground turkey for chicken? Well, a lot of times you'll notice, like if I go to swap ground turkey for chicken, what else happens? Fat. I can see her lips. Wendy, I can see what you're saying. Correct. You'll notice like once you get the ground turkey to match the chicken, all of a sudden you're like eating 500 calories. You're like, wait, what? And it's because a lot of times we have 93.7 ground turkey, which isn't bad. It doesn't have lots of fat in it, but it's more fat in it than a chicken breast does. So you can't get the protein to match because now your caloric intake went up, your fats went up. So you just got to watch those are the things that you guys want to lean into when you start swapping things out. Paying attention. So we're going to start to build that out more. You'll see more tools in there. In my spare time, I'm going to do that. I've been doing it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Wednesday's call. I want to hear, like, that was a good call. A lot of you guys, who was on Wednesday's call with Nicole? Or listen to the replay? I got hands up. Great. So we talked a little bit on that call, and I want to know, like, what you guys took away from it. Not necessarily what you took away from it, but who kind of had a shift over the weekend, and made some changes. So she kind of spun off of a post that I made in Coach Jill's community. She spun off of the post that I made when I didn't want to do my cardio. And I decided that I needed to pull my big girl pants up and rise to my standards versus letting my conditions or my excuses control me, which, by the way, guys, you have to know you're not alone. This shit happens to all of us, myself included. I will stomp my feet sometimes and not want to go do the thing. I did not want to do that cardio that day, and absolutely did not want to do it. It was the last thing I wanted to do. But I pulled my little self into the gym and got the steps finished up. And as you guys could see that day, I actually sailed past them unknowingly because I was busy answering questions from you guys as I was walking. But it's called, a lot of times what I'm finding, and I think some of you, there's more than one of you guys that are feeling this a little bit, and it has a lot to do with summer, where not just our conditions, but there's another way of looking at it, like where instead of rising to our standards, we start to get to a place where the exception becomes the new standard. Who's ever experienced that? Where the exception becomes the new standard. Yeah. And that's a little bit of when we allow those conditions to start to dictate our standards for too long. Then suddenly we wind up in a place where the exception becomes the new standard. And that's when things like start to either move in a different direction, plateau. But those are opportunities for us, guys. They're not necessarily like they're opportunities for us to peel back the curtain, per se, and look at that and then reevaluate and pull ourselves back to those standards. It's normal to happen. So who peeled back the curtain? Who realized that there may be, and this happens in the summer, guys, because there's things that are happening. We've got barbecues, we've got all of the things that are going on, and we start to make these exceptions, and then all of a sudden we're like, hold up, what just happened here? Because now it's like, oh, I'll just let this slide. I'll just let that slide. This will be okay. That'll be okay. Let me put this one out here. You know what? I reached my goal. I didn't think I was ever going to actually even get to where I am right now. I am so proud of myself. Holy shit. It's okay if I do this, if I let this 10, because it's the 90-10 rule. So the 10 and the 10 and the 10 keeps showing up, and all of a sudden that flips. Who's experienced that this summer? Deb, let's hear from you a little bit.
Oops. Sorry, here I am. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I usually am really consistent with this program, but when I go to my lake house, I do some of the stuff, but I don't do it as well. And this last trip, I didn't get my steps. I don't know if I got my steps done because I forgot my charger, which that's on me. So now it's like, am I really getting them? Am I really not? And then we had some dogs that kept me from walking, and then I had to drive, and I just didn't really do it as much as I wanted. And I just, I just let it go. You know, grandbabies were there, and it just, yeah. And I just couldn't. I struggled with holding myself up to the standard that I needed. You know, even though I'm in a place that's like a home, like I just couldn't do it. So, uh-oh.
What did you and I know like you go to your lake house every weekend and so what did you talk about a little bit because I know this isn't your standard, right? But you know, we even talked about this a little bit on your one-on-one. Um like what is it you kind of learned from this and how like I mean, I know you're back home now
Well,
implementing,
I
but
felt, I just felt awful. Like I felt, I could tell the inflammation was there. And, but I didn't feel it as much when I was there. But man, once I got back home, it was like, oh, what? This is gross. I feel gross, you know? And I just, I didn't like the feeling at all. And, I just don't, I got to be better. And it's just such an easy to slip slide right off that, you know, just, oh, I won't get my steps in today. Oh, I'll work out. But because my workouts aren't as heavy a weight there, I just, you know, oh, it's not nearly as intense, you know? So then everything slips a little bit. And then, you know, we're eating together as a family and I just want to do what everybody else is doing. And then I might overeat a little too much. And I don't know. It's just, I need to be better. So
so, you know, I
it's
think
easy to do in the summer.
it really is. It's very easy to do. And, you know, a lot of things that you named off here, I think a lot of people can relate to. And it's like one thing feeds to another. And that's what we talk about, where we allow the exception to become the standard. And it kind of just goes back to like, what I always talk about, like how fast do you get to baseline? And that's why I talk about like nobody's ever going to be perfect, guys. Consistency is what wins the race, always. It's always consistency, not perfection. And, you know, it's not about being perfect with the macros. It's not about being perfect with your workouts, specifically when you're, you know, on vacation and things like that. But it's when all of those little things continue to come in and they start to add up and add up. And that's where I say, like, how fast can you get back to baseline? Does it take you a day? Does it take you an hour? Does it take you, like, is it, I have one meal and I just ate whatever the fuck I wanted. I ate, and then the next meal, I'm back on, I'm back to business. Or is it the next day or is it the next week? That's the difference. If it's always being put off, that's where we're starting to pull back in that old identity. That's where the exception starts to become the new standard because we continue to allow it. So that's where that saying is, how fast do you return back to baseline? Because nobody's ever going to be perfect. It's not, but how fast do you get back to that consistency? How fast do you pull yourself back to that standard? You know, and then also, I think a lot of it is, you know, reminding ourselves because we're not always going to want to do the thing, you know, when you look at, take me for example, um, I didn't I didn't want to go do those steps. Like I said, I didn't want to do it. And I didn't really have any reason not to, though, just that I didn't want to. It was hot. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to walk on a treadmill. I was tired. I had a long day. I was like, I'm just done. But there's also that point too. Where are the times like it's not about being perfect? It wasn't about me being perfect, was it? It was about me holding myself to my own standard. Because at those points in times, guys, this is just like from my own experience. What happens when that type of situation happens? And I just go, I don't hit my 13K. I just go to bed. I finish my day. And what happens to me, you, when I do something like that? Almost on purpose. Am I proud of myself? why you're quiet. No, I'm not, am I? It only snowballs. When we break those promises to ourselves, I can tell you how I would have felt. The next day, I would have woke up. It wouldn't have had anything to do with my coach. I wouldn't have felt bad. I mean, yes, I would have, but it would have been more about, damn it, Jules, you knew you could have did that. You chose not to do that. That wouldn't have been hard for you to do. You just didn't want to pull your big girl pants up and go to the gym and finish your steps on a treadmill because you didn't want to walk on a treadmill. That snowballs when we let ourselves down. Believe it or not, that's letting a part of ourselves down, which can then basically snowball to the exception becoming the standard because it's like, well, I did that. I mean, I didn't I didn't hold myself to the standard. So the next day you're like, well, I mean, I didn't do it yesterday. So, I mean, this is how I feel about myself. And it continues, guys. So the more that you do it, so how do you think I felt? And I'll just continue to talk about myself. If I did the thing, I get back to the car and I'm like, okay, I did that. Bro, you're all very quiet. There's a feeling of what? What?
Satisfaction,
Yeah,
accomplishment,
exactly.
pride.
Exactly. I did it. I did it. Versus I didn't. I let myself down. I have pride and I did it. And you think to yourself, and I didn't fucking die. That's what goes through my head. And you didn't die, Jules. You didn't die. You're alive. And I think like that's part of it too. So there's what Deb talked about, we're not always going to be perfect. How fast do we pull ourselves back to baseline? But then there's also that daily, I like to call it like temperature check. Like when I have those moments of, man, I just really don't want to do this. This feels uncomfortable. This feels like this is not, because I don't even want, we all don't want to do it. Where do we draw that line and hold ourselves accountable? Hold ourselves to that standard. It's not going to happen. There's going to be times. And had I not done that, because maybe there was a good reason behind it and it just couldn't happen, that's different, you know. Then there's the mindset of, well, I got about 2K to make up somewhere this week or whatever that might be. But when it's also what I'm trying to say here, guys, is there's a big difference between there's no goddamn way I'm going to get these steps done. I'm going to have to just give myself a little bit of grace here and know that I hold myself to this standard every single day. And then there's the reality of me knowing you're just being a little bitch. You're just being a little bitch, Jules. Suck it up. So there's that too. And that's, I think, something that we have to monitor in ourselves sometimes. There's a big difference. Sometimes, we can't show up. There's external circumstances that are happening. We're sick. Our body's 100% fatigued. There's no way that's happening. There's an emergency that happens with the family. But then there's the reality of, nah, I really could have did that kind of thing. So who else has experienced after Wednesday's call, maybe something that you were like, hold up, I'm not really holding myself to my standards here. I'm allowing I'm allowing the exception to become the standard, and you made a shift. Who noticed that possibly? Ah, Brenda.
Yeah. It's funny that how things pop up on your news feed and social feed after you talk about these things. And I did post that this popped up on my feed. You can have progress or excuses, but you cannot have both. There is absolutely no way you're getting around doing what you need to do for what you want. I printed that out after that call because that showed up on my feed. And I got that posted in my office and on my fridge. And that has helped because I'm like, I'm not going to do the excuse. I want progress.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helped me since that call last week that, okay, I'm not going to I can't have both. I can't have an excuse and progress today if I want to see some shifting. And then I got that water back up to 120 and quit picking off the grandkids' plates. You know, all that stuff really made a difference. I'm like, as I'm cutting that salami for the 2-year-old, I'm like, oh God, I want to bite, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So,
Yeah.
because I want progress, but like, of course, I ain't going to be perfect every day.
No.
You know, like you said, emergencies happen, things happen, but yeah, it was a good shift.
I love that. And I want to point out, I think it's awareness too, right? It
Yes.
created awareness. Well, our phones tell us hear everything, but it created an awareness for you. Like I'm chopping up the salami where the awareness might have not been there, and and that's where the exception, because fair enough, you've been telling me for a few, months on your check-ins and analytics, bites and tastes, right? But now the awareness is there. It's like, oh shit, you know what? I've allowed this for a few months, that exception of the licks, bites, and tastes to become my new standard. And now you're aware of it and you stopped. And then you had a significant results from that too.
Yeah.
She went from a plateau, guys, like a little bit of a plateau. And she's, Brenda has actually had quite a bit of awareness. I would say even prior to this call, you've been slowly chipping away at it. And now she's trending. And that's what I say to a lot of you guys. A lot of times you're plateaued and you're knocking on my door or your coach's door and you're like, I don't understand what's going on. We do. We 100% know what's going on. But a lot of times it's just a lack of, it's a place of where the exception became the standard, and that creates unawareness on your part. Does that make sense? Because that exception slipped in, it becomes the new standard. Now you're just not aware of it because it's just what you do. Where that's why I pointed that out, Brenda. It's like a whole brand new awareness for you. You're like, oh shit, this is what I'm doing. And you stop, drop, and roll in the middle of it. So well done. I love that. Anybody else have a shift or something that an exception that they realize, like, oh crap, I allowed this to become. And by the way, guys, I just saw Sandy come on camera too. Sandy had some really, if you did not watch that call, Sandy had some really great advice that she gave on Wednesday's call. She talked very openly. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing. So if you guys haven't listened to it, I think it'll resonate specifically with a lot of you guys that are newer too. So first and foremost, thank you for sharing, Sandy. You were very vulnerable and it was very valuable information. So if you guys haven't watched it, go watch. I just saw her smiling face come off of camera and she was very honest about a lot of things that'll be very helpful. Anybody else want to add some value, some thoughts? Kate, are you trying to come off a mute?
I just did. Once we had that call on Wednesday, I had been doing the summer thing of sorry, I'm home sick today and I look like ridiculous, but I'm working from home. So this hair is ridiculous.
Get on with it, Kate.
Anyway, that I was doing this summer thing of estimating, like a little bit, or I not completely estimating, but we talked once before about getting very dialed in on exact measurements when you were measuring. And I was doing a little bit of it's in the range. We're in the range. We're good. We're in the range. And so I realized that I wasn't completely dialed. And then we talked about in my check-in how, it was busy last week, school's coming back, and I was short on time, and I grabbed a protein bar and a Fairlife, and it fit in my macros, and I put it in, and it just didn't agree with me. And it was not a good choice for me and to take the shortcut. And I think I am subject to taking a shortcut every once in a while of, well, I'm tired. I don't want to eat what I've prepared. I'm just going to take the shortcut and I'll have another protein shake or I'll have a bar or something. And that's not what I'm supposed to be eating. And my body then says, nah, you shouldn't have eaten that. And that call on Wednesday really spoke and said, okay, you're not supposed to be doing that. You know, I thought it was good in tracking it, but that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I need to level up, I need to be being right on target with what I'm supposed to be doing.
You know, and I love that you share that because there's different aspects, guys. So like what Kate's saying is like she hit her macros, but and this is not what she did. So when I say this, I'm expanding, but it's like, you know, a Pop-Tart will fit into your macros. A Pop-Tart will fit into your macros. Best choice? Possibly not. And you know, again, you might be saying, well, she had a Fairlife and a protein bar. What's wrong with that? But what she's really saying is, you know, not only, you know, yeah, it fit her macros, but for her body, not the best choice, you know, for her body and not just weight loss, because, you know, that's not necessarily the whole thing, but for her body and how she feels, because what you guys don't know is like, you know, I was following Kate and her, you know, conversations of when she had this and, you know, she was talking and like immediately the next day she didn't feel well. Like her gut rebelled against her. And call this coincidence or not, then suddenly she gets sick, the flu. Our body, our gut is about as, I'm not saying that this is 100% factual, but our gut is about as sensitive as our brain. Some will say that our gut is our second brain. So a lot of times, interestingly enough, when our body doesn't like something, and for those of you guys that have had GI maps and you've dug deeper into gut protocols, you've learned a lot about this. Our gut is very sensitive. And so, you know, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but, you know, she kind of sort of her, you know, and we've had Kate on a, she's not necessarily in a full gut protocol, but we've been very sensitive recently and experimenting with what we feed her because her body seems to be sensitive to specific things. So we've been playing with it. So when she threw this in, what she's saying is her body went, and it didn't really like it. And then I don't know, Kate, but miraculously, then you got the flu after that. It could be your body, you know, saying, you know, Kate, I'm not happy with you. So yeah, that's what, you know, so Kate's not saying what she, and I'm not mincing words here. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but really what Kate is saying here is it's not always about whether it fits your macros because she did all the things right, but it's also sometimes about, you know, listening to our body and doing what's right for our body as well. Because repeatedly doing that, what do you think would happen to her if she's repeatedly putting things in that her body doesn't necessarily like? She's not eating the Pop-Tart, but her body kind of thinks that's what it is. So yeah, Pop-Tart will fit your macros, but doesn't always mean it's the best choice. It might happen sometimes, but listening to your body. So I love that, Kate. Thanks for sharing. And Tina, you were off of, were you trying to talk? I saw you talk a couple times. Were you trying to share? Tina B, Tina Bassett. Maybe not. She's off of mute now.
No, sorry, my bad.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, this was a good call. Anybody have anything that they want to add in that they took away, learned, any shares about standards, expectations, conditions? Because it's, guys, it's part of life. We're always going to have that little going on. I've been doing this for 10 years. I still have these issues. I still have these little struggles and fights with myself. But the moral of the story here is the more and you know, Tanya really stepped out, you know, talked about it in the beginning, the more aware you are and the faster you can pull yourself back to baseline, that's the key. The more honest that you can be with yourself about where you're at and the faster you pull yourself back, that's what's going to keep you. That's what's kept me, for lack of better words, honest all these years. Do I have my moments? Absolutely. But I also can have very real conversations with myself. I don't necessarily beat myself up. I just have very real conversations with myself. I know when to give myself grace, and I know when, yeah, that doesn't, you don't need any grace there, Jules. You just need to pull your big girl pants up and get shit done. And that's really it. And it's being really honest with ourselves, because I think for many, many years, honesty kind of slipped aside because we are very busy prioritizing other people, not ourselves. Good call, guys. Anything to add to it? All right. No more words of wisdom. All right, guys. I love this. If you didn't listen to Wednesday's call, go listen to it, guys. It was posted in the Her Network. Nicole posted the recording. It's also in the playlist. And then also listen to the nutrition one when you guys get time. That was a really good one from Wednesday. That again was posted in Eat to Slay, as well as I did upload it to your resources under Macro University. Have a good Tuesday, guys.